I'll be honest. Something always bothers me about the fact that his eyes are like that. Like, one of them is sticking out the side like this, and his... Like, something about this anatomy in general doesn't really do it for me. Something about it just feels odd. It's like he's got a flat face, but he still has a muzzle. It's just weird. It just gets me. Oh, we're gonna have this... Oh, we got some things that are cut out. I mean, even with just these... Like, you really need to have 4 or more. It's one of those games. Spin the bottle. There we go. That's a nice made-up word that works the sentence. And it works especially because it's a good kind of fake word. Like, it's for being, I don't know. It's hard to directly translate it, but it captures the feel. I like this. It's a bit better. Actually, it is. Although it doesn't really work as a sentence, it just kind of captures the feel of like it is and is becoming a more terrible situation. Which doesn't work in Dutch at all. I mean, there's a fair situation of, like, on one hand you're trying to help people, on the other hand, like, there's a chance humanity... Like, this should have not been removed. And then, it's like, if this is the situation, what you've done so far is just gonna result in you getting killed behind the screen. They're like, oh, it's an accident, how terrible! The guy you like so much died after he basically fucked us over. Isn't that just a wacky-dacky coincidence? That's the world of the frontier! Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Like, all things considered, you should just ask for safekeeping. Like, after Reza's taken it for interrogation, figure out if that's the case, and if it is, just don't ever go home. I mean, it's fun. On one hand, you've got Reza who might want to go after you for helping the dragons. You've got Maverick trying to come after you for helping Reza, and then you've got humanity coming after you for basically backstabbing a deal or a plan they had set up. So essentially, the player character is the world's biggest patsy at this point. What a patsy! I don't know if that's what a patsy is. But it does sum it up real nicely. I changed it a bit because it just captures the feel better. I'm here, between everyone, trying to do my best. I think this should have not been removed. This is a legitimate question that comes up a few times, and the fact that it's removed, I understand why. It's not trying to complicate it, but come on! Like, this is a legitimate question. And Bryce is trying to reassure you. Why would you not bring up a massive concern of how much of a patsy you are? Another thing to consider is at this point, like, a whole bunch of dragons are implied to have joined the police force and reinforcing it, which implies there's some sort of decentralized police force that can do that. But the thing is, at this point, the player might not get any involvement at all. Like, they already have all the manpower they need at this point, presumably. Oh, Bryce, you're not responsible for anything at all. People think you're a fucking drunk. Like, wouldn't that be great if, like, Bryce, with all of his friendliness, like, no one actually thinks he's responsible for anything because he's so much of a face. He's not an organizer. He's just a face. He doesn't read the fucking reports. Sebastian gives him the loadouts of it. Maverick handles all the actual organization. Like, could you imagine? I mean, he fucking forgot to reorganize the whole schedule. Because of how this police department is clearly not prepared for an actual police situation. Like, I don't care if you live in the middle of America, in the middle of the biggest gun-ho town in the world, but you gotta be prepared for some extraneous situations like this. You know, like, that's what you're for. You're a cop. By definition, your job is to deal with extraneous situation. Is extraneous the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I guess that sums it up. Although, actually, that's not the word I'm looking for, so...
Extraneous.
That's not the word I'm looking for. Extreme situations is a better term. Because if you're a cop, you're not going to be dealing with a guy who's just angry at a shopkeeper and is like, I want my refund. No, you're going to be dealing with people who are, like, actually suffering problems, who are going overboard. I mean, sure, you'll probably have to escort some people out of the store, but usually that doesn't require too much police involvement. That being said, the amount I read I'm not always right gives me the impression that's kind of common in some areas. But, you know, conflict resolution. Like, I understand Bryce is kind of good for that, but at the same time, Bryce doesn't strike me as the kind of person who would make it as a commissioner for long. Like, he doesn't exude that sense of, I'm a police chief. He doesn't have that professionalism about him. Like, sure, like... Like, it would have been better if there were moments where Bryce just acknowledges, you know, all this drunkenness I'm getting. It's not a good thing. Like showing some self-awareness about the situation at hand. Instead, he just comes across as a belligerent drunk. He's just kind of flummoxing away through life. It's like, who assigned him this position with his age and his lack of like sincerity to him? Like, you need a chief to, like, you want your agents to be faces. You want the people on the street to have the face, to be like, ooh, or you want to have an HR guy, but you don't want the guy who is just a good face to be, like, the boss of this. Like, in the human world, his alcohol is a problem with, you know... I'm just saying someone else to do his reports for him. He really doesn't strike me as the kind of person who can manage organizational skills. Like, if he'd done his organization properly, I presume his house situation would have been not as messy. I keep forgetting why he's in his other house, like, what the situation is. Why do we keep forgetting that? Because it's probably a stupid little detail and you forget it because it's insignificant and you don't care about it. I mean, it makes sense if like, I hope this comes up. I hope there's a point where Bryce just basically says, I don't want to bring up all these responsibilities because I don't want them. Like, he's chief because people want him to be chief, but he's not a good chief, you know? Like, the town is so small and so insignificant, like, nothing ever happens. They can afford to have a pure face as a commissioner. And Bryce is like, I'm good for that, but now that there's actually something going on, all I can think about is how much I suck at my job. Like, his whole story, his arc is, man, it doesn't even have to be his alcoholism. It's just him be going like, man, I can't do this job. Like, I can do this job when things are fine, but so can anyone else. Like, you should have started to acknowledge the difficulty. Like, sure, it is, oh, I'm gonna do the ship in the bottle thing. I mean, Bryce, considering your age, I'd assume you've handled the situation of manual dexterity a bit earlier, considering how much of a foundational skill that is. Or maybe that's something you picked up recently. I wonder when he picked... God damn, see, all these little details. Normally I'd remember, but Bryce just doesn't speak to me as much. Man, once you start seeing those fucking, dongles and everything, they just don't go away, do they? the electric current nullifiers, the signal nullifiers. They're cool. How the fuck does he hurdle anything? But yeah, like, there's a lot of angles you can take with the Chief that I don't feel are taken properly here. Like, this, you know. Why doesn't he talk about his responsibilities as Chief? Like, I couldn't even, like, this is a great point. If he actually gives a fuck, his first biggest question would be, why the hell didn't I handle the schedule with fucking, with Maverick? You know, where the portal got broken? Like, he'd be asking himself questions like that. Like, I should have done that. Or, like, just day-to-day activity. Like, I don't even have time to go on patrol. Or I couldn't help this person because I was busy. Like, him focusing on things you don't know about. Like, give him an existence outside of what we get to see. Fill in his daily life. Have him say, well, I had to turn someone down to help find their pet Rangoon because I had to work on the investigation. Like, something that hurts him on a personal level. Like, this is my responsibility, but I don't have the time for it. Like, for the first time in my fucking life, I'm dealing with a situation that's so out of my usual day-to-day activity, so extraneous that I don't know how to handle it. Like, even the dragon thing was at least just a rabid dragon. It wasn't a diplomatic conflict in which you had to make all these complex decisions on how to handle it. Like, that sets such a great story, not explored. And everything he talks about is in the context of what you already know. Fuck, I don't care. I'm playing through this. I already know those details. I don't care about hearing it for 100th time. That, of course, I can logically reason that Bryce is upset over that because he's the fucking Chief. He should be. That's his job. I want to hear about the other things that happen. The things that pile up. People don't get upset over single things. They get upset over lots of little things all at once. People can handle big major punches, provided they don't get punched everywhere in between. Your shield doesn't regenerate unless you get some time off, you know. The fact that Bryce gets angry over this. Like, here's the thing. I'd love it if there's a scene where this happens, but with someone else. Like, after this, or in some sort of context, Bryce is angry. And then Sebastian's like, well, Bryce just flew at me. Bryce just went completely berserk in his office at one time. Because why the fuck would he do this with the fucking ambassador? If Bryce is actually this intelligent, and so into his job and responsible, wouldn't you be the last person he'd try to have a fallout with? Wouldn't he try to muster the last of his strength and say, dude, I can't manage this, I'm out the door? And that's the whole scene, is you getting this man to that's better writing. It's human. Suddenly you have a character who's like, I don't want to deal with this. If I have to deal with this the way I want to, I'm going to ruin everything more. I have to make the adult decision. And he's like, fuck. I hate making this adult decision, but if I don't, I'll make things so much infinitely worse. Your character's just perfectly fine getting a fucking bottle tossed at his head for no goddamn reason. I don't care if you're friends. That's crossing the line, as they say. And you're supposed to fucking fuck this caboodle at the end? What the hell? Why the fuck does this date where you fuck his canoodle begin with him throwing bottles at you and getting super mad and everyone's like, man, my life sucks? Why are the two people you have sex with in the most blatant fashion also the two people with the biggest fucking emotional conflict going on that you should probably not be having engagements with them? The writing just, Bryce, you started off so strong, but now you're trying to be serious. It just doesn't work, because your character doesn't work in this serious fashion. Except not! It's Amara's fucking job! She's the one who organized this, Bryce! Technically speaking, you're not responsible for it. She can push the responsibility onto you, but she's still, logistically speaking, the person... God damn it. We're slowing down again. I hope to God this doesn't happen with every single character's final date. But at the rate things are going, although that being said, I kind of was most nervous about Bryce and Anna, because Bryce and Anna are kind of, ugh. Remy's gonna suck. Although his, I think, just tends to stay a bit more, let's just go out and have some fun. Because he already got past this super shit serious crap. I guess that kind of mellows it out a bit. Ugh. Yeah, but on the other side, it's also kind of implied that part of the reason things went out of control in the first place is because of Maverick's handlings. So, on one way or another, things are not great. This whole situation reads as a catch-22, which is great, because crisis and hard situations bring out people's true personality, because they don't get the chance to act otherwise. And this, I gotta say, this is actually a good point. This actually, like, sure, it's Maverick breaking protocol, but clearly he's dedicated to his cause. And I don't care what you think, but there's something to be admired about a man who sticks to his cause to that kind of extent. Who's like, I don't get paid for this. My boss is gonna chew me the heck out for this. But I'm still gonna do it, because I have to. Like, that's what a hero does, people. I'm just saying, it kind of elevates Maverick. Not in the greatest way, but you gotta admire the man's loyalty and dedication. In some respects. Then again, I don't think Maverick's the sneakiest, so he might have tipped Reza off himself. Although it's implied that he just calculated it and then went to the cops. That being said, I like how no one ever mentions if there's any secret hideout, secret routes, because Reza's implied to have used the sewers, and it's never implied that he was there to begin with. So it's entirely likely that Reza just kind of fucked off at some point. He's like, okay, things are getting hairy. Like maybe, like that's an interesting plot point to cover. You know, the escape. I think it's covered, actually, at some point. I don't remember the ending spiel, because I skip it, because Reza's big ending spiel doesn't really change at all. There's a few minor details in some of the endings, I think. For the most part, it's just so boring. Also, this is not an apology. If Bryce is a fucking commissioner or chief of police who's almost pushing 30, wouldn't he know what an apology really looks like? This is not an apology. An apology does not excuse itself. An apology doesn't try to specify itself. An apology is, I'm sorry for what I've done to you. Not anything. You don't excuse the apology. Never. Never. When you do that, it makes it sound like you're not just specifically sorry for something, but you excuse any other related activities that might have been result of this. Like, don't say anything, say everything. Now, instead of sounding like a douchebag, it's like, for anything. Like, just, oh, some things. Maybe everything. Be overly apologetic. That way, at least you look like a sorry sack, which I guess isn't his thing. Maybe that's the point. But use it more. Use it more. Play it up a bit. It doesn't fit his fucking role and position. Have your character be like, what the fuck? Why the fuck are you talking like that? You're a fucking chief of police! It's your goddamn job, boy! I don't think anything is gonna translate. Yeah, this is not... Oh, actually, I want to make this like just as much of a douchebag apology as it does. So the problem here is anything I might have done wrong. Anything I have done wrong. Maybe sounds a bit better, but the might anything gives this excuse to the apology. However, I did it great. I apologize for something I might have done. Like, in Dutch, it just got that same fucking douchebag ring to it of, like, this isn't a real apology. This is me just being a fucking asshole to you. Like, it's a passive-aggressive insult when you're not apologizing properly. Because you're saying, I don't have to apologize, and you're a fucking schmuck for wanting one. And I haven't done anything wrong. Like, so many angles to it make you sound like a dick if you don't just cover it. Cover it. Throw the biggest possible fucking blanket over it. Don't pull the little baby blanket. Pull out the big one. Really show that you mean it. Demeaning yourself shows that you mean it. Like throwing yourself under the bus. If you've got something to lose, which in Bryce's case isn't really that much of a thing, because he clearly doesn't seem to give a shit if he pees on fucking Zhong's floor. So that again makes Bryce's apology sound like shit. Because he fucking gets drunk under the table after hours. That establishes a lot about how much he gives a shit about his own public reputation. Which makes apologies, by definition, less interesting. Because why would he feel sorry if he doesn't even feel sorry for himself? Then again, that seems to be the attitude most people on Tumblr have. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Like, this is a better apology. But this does not. Don't put that there. You can be sorry for someone even if it's not your responsibility. You can be sorry just because you felt like you should have... Like, why do you include that? Just don't do that. Just say you're sorry for what you did and how it impacted you. And maybe say that you didn't mean it, and that you wish you could have done it differently. Like, something to show that you care. Instead of this mishmash of, like, I might be sorry for it. I mean, it's my... Like, the way he makes it end is... The ending gives this ring that he has to. He doesn't want to, he has to. And an apology doesn't work if it's official. It needs to come from within. It needs to be this bubbly thing that pops out of your heart and smacks a person across the face. That was a little baby, I have to. Here's an official statement, written by my PR manager. Also, the way this works, I'm sorry because it's my responsibility. So, again, it just kind of makes him sound like a douche. Like, I'm sorry because I'm responsible. No other reason. I'm not sorry because I care about you, or because I feel sorry, or because I'm taking responsibility. I'm sorry because I am responsible. There's a difference in being responsible and taking responsibility for something you're already responsible for. Just saying. If you take responsibility, it means you're acknowledging not only that you're responsible, but that you should have done something with that responsibility. If you're just saying, I'm responsible, then you're just saying, someone said that I am. And that's all that matters. Like, the nuances in this fucking apology are just laying him out as the biggest douchebag, which is something that he's kind of been a lot. But no one seems to acknowledge that Bryce is an asshole, which is the problem. It's like everyone's just sort of chill with this complete twat of a police commissioner. Everyone's like, he's a great guy, but he's an asshole, and no one acknowledges it. You have to acknowledge these kinds of things, or the reader is going to be like, what? Why is no one pointing out what a dick he's being? He's even fake apologizing over something that you're fearing for your life. And he's actually starting to threaten you. How the fuck is he going to keep his job after this? Well, he isn't, because he's either going to die. And then your character is like, you don't have to... Why? His apology, that's what he's supposed to apologize for, because he just fucked it up. Ah! Ah! These banana beans, man. They are driving me up the wall. I'm spitting on my screen. I constantly have to wipe it. Ah. I mean, emotionally charged or not. this sentence is kind of weird. We found a dead child and her mother. And then the next sentence he elaborates she's dead. But the way this is phrased implies that she was alive. Like, adjectives like this don't transfer like this. You say you find a dead child and mother. But if you put this here, I don't know, it just, to me, when you put that there, to me, it just makes it sound like the dead only applies to the child. We found a dead child and her mother, who was alive. Like, you gotta be more realistic with that. I know saying her dead mother just sounds fucking weird, but it's better to be explicit with things than to be implicit. Yes, you're a fucking chief at 28 years old, which is the oldest dragon players get to hang out with for the most part. I mean, the way you make it sound, Bryce, is on one hand you sound like you care, on the other hand you sound like you don't. Like he just, like Anna, he just seems to swap between whatever's convenient for the writing at the moment, more than anything. I mean, shouldn't he be more sympathetic to your situation? Of like, yes, you've seen your fucking family die to raiders. The humans are having a much worse time. He should be more like, I don't think I can explain this to you because the relative context is so much different. Like, I know that problems are relative to begin with, but on one hand, I just feel that for everything, Bryce just doesn't come across as someone who was given his position out of like, you're the guy for the job, other than maybe the whole police station was like, well, we have like one major case every 5 years, so we don't need someone who can actually do like the one case in 5 years, we need someone who can take care of the rest of the time, which is a fair thing to do. But then why doesn't Bryce, like, question that part of his position? Of, like, I'm a chief and I fucking suck at actually handling a crisis, which is what the police is generally intended to do, is handling crises. Crises. Ugh. I'm actually flip-flopping myself, because I think I've gone back and forth on that a few times. Well, so far, like, how many people have really died? Like, Vera and her parent together, it's like 4 deaths. Like, holy shit, what kind of an amazing world do you live in, Bryce, that's the most people you have to worry about in this massive... Actually, considering it's a mass diplomatic incident. Like, wouldn't the diplomatic incident be a bigger cause? Like, aren't you more likely to be remembered for being the guy who fucked this shit up? Like, I'd be very concerned about the whole political field. It's gonna look like, you not only managed to save exactly nobody, but you also the fact that Vera specifically specified out means that over the course of a month, no one's died under these circumstances. Despite all those dragons in the wild, despite, like, again, include things that aren't already told to the player. Add some dynamicism and nuance. This song does not actually work. This works kind of well, but in other times this feels kind of goofy. Like, it spoils the fact that Bryce is going to be a fucking twat. I'm done. I need to cool down. I think that if I continue from here, it's just going to straight explode. I like this sentence a lot, because it just kind of points out that Bryce is being a fucking twat again. No, you didn't! You literally did so because you just wanted to see if the player could do it. There's nothing you gained out of this. And this, you come from a fucking world with raiders. I'm pretty sure that once someone comes from a world with raiders, I'm gonna be like, oh, corpse, oh, well, I guess you should be used to them by now. I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons people should have their doubts about you, Bryce, and it's probably the fact you have handled the situation with about the nuance and properness as a fucking hammer. The fact that this is a fucking problem, even though this seems to be like the first major case in a very long time next to the whole Miles thing. Like, all things considered, Bryce, I mean, yes, you're going to see a lot of corpses, but there's a difference between seeing a lot of corpses and having lots of people die in your watch like that. Although, maybe it depends on how much you're willing to attract yourself. Because it's entirely possible that you're just going to attract deaths. You're going to be like, well, I could have helped this person if I just paid more attention to the neighborhood. Like, that kind of thinking. That's not good thinking, by the way. That's the kind of thing that makes you do stupid things. I'm going to stop. I'm saying stupid shit now. That's how angry I am. I'm red. Ugh, angry. Big angry. Very big. You could fill the goddamn room with it.